Bruce Martin of Goshen, Connecticut has owned his 1966 Ford Fairlane 500 since it was new. He traded a 1964 and a half Mustang for it. You had some specific requirements when you ordered it.
Yes. The requirements were I wanted power steering and no power brakes,
as well as a bench seat up front and some flashier hubcaps in chrome molding. He purchased the car for a practical reason and for less than $3,000. Martin was married and had a child on the way, but it never got used that much.
It stayed in the garage. I've never seen snow. It's never been rotted. It's never been hit. It's just one of those things.
Consequently, it's a well-preserved black beauty with only 55,000 miles on the odometer in 52 years of ownership. And it fulfills a dream.
And I've always wanted an antique car as a young boy. We just couldn't afford it at that point. We got married, we had we bought a house. Then I turned around and I bought the Mustang. And then in '66, I turned around and bought this car. And it just so happened my wife got pregnant 2 years later again for the second child. And it was something that never got used in the winter.
Back in the mid-'60s, the Fairlane was overshadowed by the Mustang and Ford's larger Galaxy line, which Martin acknowledges.
It was a nothing car to speak of.
It wasn't until the late 1970s that Martin realized that he owned what was becoming a vintage car worth keeping.
I can recall bringing it to the Barlin Festival show. And the Barlin Festival show, I won first place down there. It was the first time I've ever showed the car. I think it was '77 or '78. I have a trophy inside on that one. And that was the start of it. Then the children were growing up at that point, and they were getting interested in the cars and maintaining it. And I'd have the kids crawl underneath the car and clean it for me and help me with it and work on the car and maintaining it. And to this day, they still do. Now my grandson does it now.
The Fairlane is meticulously maintained.
I do 99% of the mechanical work myself. The oil changes, the filters, the gaskets, and so on and so forth. I'll change them myself. I prefer to do it myself. I really don't spend a lot of time on it. I don't get it caught in the rain. I try not to get it caught in the rain. It won't go out, and as of today, it's going to go back in the bag again. I have a big plastic bag, cover the car, and I have a big bag that drive right into it and has a fan. And I'll throw a few mothballs underneath it and just keep the rodents out of there. And that's basically all I do to it. Take it out in the spring and it looks just like this in the spring.
It's all original too, except for the paint, which was redone in 1992.
This is enamel paint on this car at this point, and there's no clear coat on this car, and that's just the way it is. People can't believe it to this day. It's not a clear coat car, it's an enamel car, acrylic enamel.
Under the hood is a 289 cubic inch V8 engine, which is sufficiently peppy for Martin's needs.
It's a stock 200 horse engine. I think it's not as peppy as some of the cars I've built and owned in my time. It's very good. For 200 horses, it's excellent, and I'm very happy with it. It's very good on gas. You get about 21, 22 miles at a gallon with it.
What amazes Martin, though, is that he now owns the vintage car that he long ago craved.
It just happened. I don't really understand. I wanted an antique car when I was back in the 20s, and I just could not afford it, and this is what it ended up being. I've been offered some serious dollars for this car, and now I have no intentions of selling.
That's Ride Connecticut. I'm Bud Wilkinson, and please subscribe to Ride Connecticut's YouTube channel.